So a few days ago, I came across a vid by Jetro that discussed about how much time passed during GTA 5 story. Funnily enough, I thought about this too a few years ago and thought that most people already knew this by now. And so I clicked on the video, and it's not like the entire video is badly made or wrong or anything. It's just that the conclusion is wrong according to what I have found. Of course, I'm not saying that he made these mistakes on purpose. Obviously, these are just honest mistakes, and he probably didn't mean to spread misinformation on purpose. The entire vid isn't wrong either. The time lapse throughout the story is about 2.5 months. I like to take it as 3 months because you also have to account for all the side activities and missions that also take place canonically speaking. And also, it's just more convenient too. He did, however, get wrong about when the story actually takes place. It is not between July to September. And here's the actual timeline of GTA 5 story. You might think I might have no life for making this, and you're absolutely right. I guess this is what happens to a community when there's no new mainline entry for 13 years. It's been so long to the point that I know the roads of Los Santos better than the roads of my hometown. I could literally tell you where every location in Los Santos is, but if you asked me a random place in my hometown, I probably couldn't tell you anything. Anyways, class, here's the calendar of 2013, and we're gonna cut out all the months based on the facts that we do know. I was surprised that most people didn't know that a portion of GTA Online takes place a few months before the story, as many comments were pointing this out under Jetro's video, which makes me think I need to jog your memory a little. I feel like this chart will clear things up a little. So, anyways, as you can see, the online precedes the GTA 5 single player story by a few months, but it's shifted to a present day real time progression started with the 2017's gun running update. From this point on, each major update is set in the year it was released, so it's aligning with the in game chronology and continuing after the events of GTA 5. In a way, our GTA Online characters did things in the first few months and the first half of 2013 and then just kind of retired until 2017 when Rockstar decided to fuck up the economy and add flying bikes and cars, and then our characters had to turn to a life of crime again because of the inflation that was going through the roof. That's another video for another day. But coming back to the point, I think we can safely cut out the first 6 months off of 2013 just because it seems like a large enough time frame for our GT Online characters to grind enough money to buy an apartment and do all the 5 heists and setups and all the other contact missions and the Lamar storyline. And besides, the main story doesn't even take place in the first 6 months of 2013, as I'll explain later. So upon my expedition to find the specifics of the timeline, I think I stumbled upon something that no one else really has. And it's a very trivial thing on the surface, but it's actually not so trivial. And it's about the day when the story starts. It's a pretty big hint when you kind of think about it because there's almost 52 weeks in a year. And if you can find the specific day of something that happened in a year, that will leave you with only 52 dates, which would cut out 313 dates and leave us with only 52 possible dates that the story could start in. But we already established that the story can't take place in the first half of 2013, which, after canceling out the first 6 months and only counting the latter 6 months, which would give us 26 weeks, which means it would give us 26 days. To mention that we also cancel out the last 3 months, that is October, November, and December, because that would mean the story would cross over to 2014 because, well, the story itself is like 3 months long, and if it starts at October or November, then it would end up somewhere in January or February of 2014. And since there's no mention of a New Year or a Christmas by any of the characters or even the radio stations in the game, and it's generally assumed that the story takes place within 2013, I think it's safe to assume that the last 3 months are basically cut out of the equation. So, as I stated, that I discovered an info that either got ignored by the community or just straight up didn't notice it. I mean, again, I looked through Reddit forums, I looked through GTA Wiki, I used ChatGPT and Dark Viper. I mean, it's not like he replied or anything, but I doubt that even the most esteemed speedrunner would know this. So imagine my surprise when I find something out that isn't documented by this huge community that has been around for 12 years for a game that's basically mainstream. So, what is it, you may ask? Saturday. The first mission takes place on a Saturday. You can just pause it and see it for yourself. No matter how many times you reload and restart, it will always show the same fixed day and time, which kind of gives us a clue of when these missions are taking place, which is, the weekday of when they're taking place. Now, the two missions, Prologue and Franklin and Lamar, they have a fixed day and time, which is Monday for Prologue and Saturday for Franklin and Lamar. In Prologue, it takes place on a 5 a.m. on a Monday, which is 2004 in that mission because it takes place like 9 years before. And basically, the whole heist from this point to this point takes place between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. So, right from the beginning to where Trevor gets cornered by the end and then he has to escape, that all takes place within 2 hours in like canonical timeline. So Prologue takes place on a random Monday in 2004 between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. And Franklin and Lamar takes place on a Saturday of 2013 at 8:01 a.m. So that kind of really narrows everything down now because we have only these possible 13 dates. But what if I told you that we can narrow this down further? So the answer is pretty much on the surface, and it basically is revealed in one of the main missions in GTA 5 called Bury the Hatchet, where Michael goes to stop Trevor from finding out his secret, blah blah blah. Spoiler alert for the 5 people that haven't played this game yet. But there's a little detail that most of you might not notice or might have missed. It's a very important little detail, but I really want you to look at the screen here and really focus on the area of this screen and tell me what you see. Snow everywhere, as you can notice, and upon further research, I kind of looked into what North Yankton was based off of, and it's based off of North Dakota, which means that in North Dakota, it usually snows around late October till like February, March, approximately. So that would mean that this part of the story is taking place somewhere in late October till December. It cannot take place during January, February, or March because that would mean it's taking place in next year or like 2014. That doesn't really make any sense. So this means that this specific mission has to take place comfortably in like late October till November, or at the very least in December. So that would mean that the story has to start at least a month or two prior. Also, this is the 51st mission in the game, so at this point, more than half of the story is already done with. And there's cutscenes prior to this mission that suggest that a few weeks have already passed, and that's before this mission even takes place. So by the time we even get to this part of the story, we can easily at least safely assume that a month or two have already passed by this point. So adding up all the information and evidence that we have, we know that Bury the Hatchet has to take place between late October till December, right? And the story supposedly takes place over the course of like 3 months at the very least. If we take Bury the Hatchet as a reference point, it basically has to take place between late October till December, meaning that the story would have to start at least 2 months prior to this point because, again, Bury the Hatchet takes place like after like the first half of the story, so it takes place at like the second half. So meaning that the story would have to take place at the last week of August to the first week of September. But we already know that the first mission takes place on a Saturday, which means that the mission would have to take place at like 31st August or 7th September. so that Bury the Hatchet could take place in November or late October, so that snow actually happens in North Yankton. And then the mission or like the story would end somewhere by, I would say, like late November or maybe like early December. So that pretty much narrows it down by a lot. I mean, we almost got the exact date. I guess there's only two possible dates in this scenario. But you're probably thinking about, well, what about the posters and the calendars argument that Jetro made? Well, the thing is, those aren't really reliable, and there's two explanations for this, two types basically. One is technical reason, and the in-lore universe explanation. The in-universe explanation is that the examples that he gives us of the characters where he finds these calendars in, well, these are not really the most reliable people. I mean, look at Jimmy and Trevor. Do you really think they, take care of their surroundings and update their calendars? And also, if calendars are still stuck on the same months, which he also pointed out in his video. But the point is that you can't really take these as a reliable evidence because they don't change even after you play as Trevor after the story is completed. It still shows August. And since we pieced together the Bury the Hatchet timeline through finding out the North Dakota weather and concluding that the mission would be taking place in late October or early November at the very least, is that not only I have Mother Nature on my side because, North Dakota weather, but also there's calendars within the game that point towards the September October date. It's not really out of the realm of possibility that story might be taking place during late August and early September. Like, at least that's where it starts from. And it just is the only reason where it would make sense because, again, all these other calendars and posters are just not really consistent. Posters, even in real life, are outdated sometimes, and it's not like they're updated exactly whenever a new month comes up. So that's probably a realistic part, I guess. But the technical reason probably is that they probably didn't give a shit. They just wanted to, make the interiors look different, and they just wanted variety in the rooms of like the different interiors that the player would go into. And also, there's like this funny quote from the start of Jetro's video where he says that how Rockstar always meant to keep the timeline of the story ambiguous, as if it's like something really deep, like the gold suitcase from Pulp Fiction or that one episode of Rick and Morty. Like, it's not that deep. It doesn't enhances the story in any way. I just don't think Rockstar ever really gave it a thought. Like, they probably had a general idea, but they probably didn't give too much thought about it because I don't think they themselves expected, people like us to dig in too deep into this because they probably also didn't think that GTA 6 would take like 13 years. So yeah, it's just a bunch of goobers like us kind of like digging into this minute details. I'm probably not going to be surprised if there's someone out there that knows how many hair follicles each character model has. I mean, we got YouTubers that are like following the grid lines in the GTA 5 map. I mean, come on. But yeah, that's, I guess, pretty much about it. I mean, I think I made a pretty good case for myself, Yeah, the video took like a few months to make. Like 2 months, I guess. Look, I got some work to do. All right, life got in between. There were some people that were kind of preventing me to make stuff, but I'm back now. I'll probably make something new. Hopefully, that won't take like 3 months to make. But hey, I don't know how to do outros, so I guess I will see you in the next one.